Thanks everybody for joining me today. This is a great session that we're going to have today. It should be fairly brief. It's kind of high level. In the Microsoft world, it would be a level 200 session, I guess, maybe even 100. But anyway, this session's entitled Planning Your Remote Access Strategy. And before we get started, I kind of want to just give you guys a brief introduction to myself and the company, just so you know where we are and who we are and where we're coming from. My name is Richard Hicks. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Director of Technical Services here for Celestix Networks. And I am a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, or MVP, in the Enterprise Security discipline. I'm Microsoft certified, whatever. I've been Microsoft certified for quite a many years, so I've lost track of what some of these things are. But bottom line, it's been doing Microsoft technologies for a number of years. The bulk of my career in the information technology field has been spent as a network and information security expert. I've been in this business for quite some time, and designed, implemented, and supported edge security and remote access solutions for some of the largest companies in the world. So hopefully I can share some things that will hopefully make your jobs easier today. A little bit about Celestix Networks, if you're not familiar with us. We've been in business for quite some time. Dedicated security company. All of our solutions are security focused, and we've been in business since 1999. Originally, Celestix started out life as a checkpoint hardware provider. So we originally started out building firewalls for Checkpoint as a Checkpoint partner. Later branched out to some OEM partner agreements with security companies like WebSense, Surf Control, RSA, those types of companies. But we've been doing security for quite some time, and since about 2004, 2005, right around in there, we've been one of the largest Microsoft OEM hardware partners, delivering solutions like Microsoft ISA Server, Forefront, TMG, and UAG for many, many years. Celestix has a worldwide presence. We have offices all over the world. We are headquartered in Northern California in the East Bay, but we do have offices in Europe, United Kingdom, and in Southeast Asia as well. We have sold our security solutions to countless customers across pretty much all verticals that you can imagine. Healthcare, defense, finance, entertainment, you name it, we've sold solutions, security solutions to some of those customers. We have our solutions available through a number of different channels. We have a pretty extensive partner and channel network, so you can usually find our solutions through your favorite distributor, reseller in your region. So today we're going to be talking about planning a remote access strategy, and we're talking about a number of things around remote access and the different scenarios that are supported. You know, I'm old enough and have been around long enough to remember when remote access was kind of a niche technology. It was deployed for the security administrators or for the network administrators and systems administrators. Today, remote access is pretty ubiquitous. I don't know of a single network, large or small, that doesn't have some sort of remote access capability. And again, not relegated strictly to administrators anymore. It's really something that's designed as a productivity tool and enabler for our end users, and allowing them to be, to be efficient in doing their jobs regardless of where they are. Planning remote access deployment is particularly challenging because back in the day, it was really easy. I only had to worry about my Windows PCs, and it was just stupid simple. Today, we have a number of challenges because we have so many diverse scenarios that we have to cover. The first is managed clients, and we're going to talk about each of these deployment scenarios and the different technologies that are ideal to address each one of them. So for managed clients, we're going to have one type of solution. For non-managed clients, we need to provide an alternative to that. We need to pay special attention to our mobile devices. So with the explosion and ubiquity of mobile devices, we need to understand and address those challenges as well. We're going to talk a little bit about network versus application access. So traditionally, we've granted full access to the network, kind of layer 3 sort of connectivity, but there are capabilities that have been around for quite some time now that allow us to provide more granular access, and we'll talk about those as well. And then finally, of course, virtual desktop infrastructure is interesting as well. It might be the solution of choice depending on your particular requirements. So for our managed clients, when we're talking about our managed clients and providing a remote access solution for them, it's important, I think, to understand and draw some definition around what a managed client is. A managed client, at least in the context of our conversation for remote access, is typically a Windows-based PC that is domain joined. It is a mobile device. It could be a laptop. It could be a tablet running full Windows. Something to that effect, that is, again, purchased, issued, and maintained by central IT for your organization. Again, domain joined. It has your security software installed. It conforms to your policy, and it probably has your custom deployment image installed and so forth. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about a managed client. And providing remote access for managed clients today is most effectively accomplished with a solution called DirectAccess. Now, I'll state right now and qualify this that we could talk for days about DirectAccess. DirectAccess is an extremely powerful remote access solution. We have done entire webinars just on the DirectAccess technology, so I would encourage you to watch your inboxes for future webinars from Celestix, where I'm sure we'll talk more about DirectAccess in detail. But fundamentally, DirectAccess is a modern, advanced remote access solution that provides always-on, seamless and transparent bi-directional network connectivity, again, for managed clients. The requirements for DirectAccess are that the clients be joined to the domain, because we affect the remote access solution and implement it using technologies like group policy. We rely on things like the Windows Firewall with Advanced Security, which again is managed, and the connection security rules that come along with that, which is again managed using Active Directory. So we need those clients to be domain joined, and we need to be able to manage them with group policy. Once we have the infrastructure in place to support DirectAccess, and once it's deployed, it is kind of a set it and forget it type of thing. You put users in the security group, they get the DirectAccess policies, they will then establish this seamless and transparent bidirectional network connectivity to the CorpNet, and then once they do, they have access to the network at a very low level. So they have basically network level access to the CorpNet. The solution is very secure. It uses certificates and the computer account to do authentication. When your users authenticate, if they have an active internet connection, they do authenticate against a domain controller as opposed to using cached credentials. And again, we could go on and on and on, but bottom line, this is an excellent solution for our managed clients. Now, the challenge, of course, is that we need to provide remote access for a lot of different clients, not just our managed Windows clients. We might have to support non-managed clients for a variety of different scenarios. And to address that, our solution, the Celestix Remote Access solution, does support client-based VPN. So with client-based VPN, again, this is pretty simple to implement. It has pretty wide support for clients. Clients are obviously built into all Windows platforms, so you can use the Windows built-in VPN client that's a part of Windows. Those VPN clients are also ubiquitous in other platforms too, Mac, iOS, Surface, Windows. Even the mobile devices like Android and Windows phones still have support for a VPN client. So if you need to provide support for that, this is an ideal way to do that. Again, client-based VPN does provide network-level access, and it does so securely using standard protocols like PPTP. Of course, I have an asterisk there because we don't typically recommend that customers deploy PPTP any longer, and if you have PPTP, probably a good idea to get rid of it in favor of a more secure protocol. PPTP is, well, I guess I'll state it has the security effectiveness of WEP, Wired Equivalency Protocol, for wireless. If you're familiar with WEP and you know how secure that is, PPTP really is as secure as WEP was, comparing it to wireless. So anyway, consider that that's your thought for the day. If you have PPTP deployed, good idea to remove that. Also supports fairly standard protocols like L2TP over IPsec, which has been around for quite some time and is a much more effective solution than using PPTP, especially when you're using certificates. Our solution also supports SSTP, which is the Secure Socket Tunneling Protocol. This is a Microsoft, I think it's a Microsoft native VPN protocol has fairly wide support in Windows clients since Vista Service Pack 1. And SSTP is extremely powerful and flexible remote access protocol because it's very well firewall friendly. It uses SSL and TLS to encrypt our network traffic, and of course that's just using SSL certificates. SSL TLS, TCP port 443 is very firewall friendly, so you have fairly ubiquitous access to this remote access protocol using client-based VPN if you've implemented that for your Windows clients. In addition, we have support for IKEv2. IKEv2 is interesting to us because it is an improvement over previous protocols that used IKE. It has some additional firewall friendliness, not as firewall friendly as SSTP, but IKEv2 is more firewall friendly than some of its predecessors. Also has some enhancements for mobility and firewall traversal, which makes it a little easier in terms of supporting for your mobile devices. So when we talk about mobile device access, because we have to, mobile devices present their own unique challenge, and there's a variety of solutions we can use to address mobile device remote access. Now, mobile devices come again with some unique requirements, and also, you know, in terms of not only processing power but screen real estate and things like that, the size of the screen. Also, in terms of security, some of the solutions that we use for remote access that rely on certificates can be challenging unless you have a full-blown mobile device management or MDM solution. So with mobile devices, there's a variety of ways to approach this and address each of these concerns. We can leverage client-based VPN just like we do for our non-managed Windows clients, because effectively and essentially our mobile devices are non-managed clients. They just may or may not be running Windows. If you're running the Surface tablets, those certainly have VPN clients built in. If you're running Android or iOS or Macintosh, any of those platforms will have a VPN client built in, so you can take advantage of those capabilities of our platform to provide secure remote access for those. However, due to some of those challenges, again, processing power and screen real estate, it may be more effective to consider a solution that uses application publishing, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail shortly. But sometimes it might be virtuous and helpful for us to just provide the application to the user as opposed to just giving them network level access. And of course, another solution that works well for mobile clients is virtual desktops, and virtual desktops are supported on a wide variety of platforms as well. So this brings us to the question, and again we've touched upon it briefly, in that should I be providing full network level access to my remote clients, or should I just be granting them access to individual applications or data selectively? This is a debate that's interesting, and ultimately it boils down to your appetite for risk and your particular security policy. If you compare and contrast this, when we were talking about providing network level access, and traditionally this is used using client-based VPN, but DirectAccess also provides full network access. These technologies, VPN and DirectAccess, well, maybe not DirectAccess, but certainly VPN, are simple to implement. They are mature and very well understood, but there are times when very broad access like this is less than ideal from a security perspective. Certainly it works. You can get to whatever you need, but again, that could be a blessing. It could also be a curse. From an application perspective, if we provide access simply to the application itself, it does afford us a little better security and tighter access control. So there are advantages and disadvantages either way. Probably a little higher administrative overhead with regards to application publishing, but certainly a solution that affords some essential security benefits as well. So that might be something to consider. So when we're talking about performing application publishing, we are fundamentally talking about making the application available to the user as opposed to just providing network level access. This has been done using reverse proxy solutions since as long as I can remember. Certainly back in the day, ISA server and IAG, the Intelligent Application Gateway, provided reverse application or application publishing, TMG and UAG as well. For those customers that have TMG and UAG deployed today, our solution includes a feature of Windows Server 2012 R2 called the Web Application Proxy. This is a reverse web proxy that is built into the operating system. It's available through our hardware appliance platform, and it provides pre-authenticated conditional access to your web applications. It is not a it does not have full feature parity with Forefront UAG, unfortunately. So if you're using Forefront UAG today to publish applications, the web application proxy has only a very small subset of the features that Forefront UAG has. I'll qualify that by stating that web application proxy is new and is going to be growing in features and capabilities over time. In addition, Celestix Networks will be working to extend some of the features and capabilities of web application proxy in order to make this a more effective solution. But if you have simple requirements to publish, for example, on-premises Exchange Outlook web app, Exchange on-premises SharePoint, any web application that has fairly simple requirements, the web application proxy can provide access to that. The web application proxy relies exclusively on ADFS, so today you must have an existing ADFS infrastructure in order to take advantage of that. You can publish claims-based or non-claims-based application. You even can do what's known as pass-through authentication, which means I can just grant kind of anonymous access to a website if I need to provide that sort of level of protection. I don't require authentication to some sort of back-end application. Perhaps it's just a general website. But there are a number of deployment scenarios in which the web application proxy can serve capably in order to provide secure remote access to applications. And again, it does this for both managed, non-managed Windows clients, pretty much any client that has a web browser. So this would work well for mobile applications as well. Now, virtual desktops is another compelling solution that is a pretty easy remote access capability. It has a number of distinct advantages in terms of security, and we'll certainly talk about those in more detail. But the virtual desktop infrastructures that we're talking about here can be made available remotely in a secure manner using the remote desktop gateway. The remote desktop gateway is a feature of our remote access solution that provides firewall-friendly access to RDP applications. So RDP itself natively relies on specific TCP ports to be opened through firewalls, and from a security perspective, that's not really a good idea. So the remote desktop gateway allows us to tunnel RDP traffic in SSL and TLS, so it's again fairly ubiquitous access for TCP port 443 through firewalls. If you have access to the public internet, by and large, you're going to have access to outbound TCP port 443, and the remote access, the remote desktop gateway will certainly work for you there. You can also leverage the remote app capabilities, which allow us to not just extend a desktop to a user, but extend an individual application, so we can publish an application. Now, this is a little bit different than application publishing in that this application is actually just being streamed across the public internet in a secure fashion to our remote clients. In terms of supported clients, of course, this works well on PCs because PCs forever have had a remote desktop client built in. But a wide variety of mobile devices also include RDP clients. The Windows Phone has a mobile client, an RDP client. Certainly Android and iOS devices, both of the phones and the iPads as well, have RDP clients that you can actually use on those mobile platforms. So there are a number of different capabilities that are available to that. And I think that the advantage to using a remote desktop gateway or a remote app is that, again, much like web application publishing, I have more granular control. I have better control and tighter control over my data. My data actually never leaves the corporate network. It resides on the servers within the walls of my corporate network, and I just extend fundamentally the desktop, the screen, to the user. The user is effectively using processing power on the corporate network where the data resides securely and safely, and it remains there, so I don't have to worry about those types of challenges here. So when we're talking about all of these kind of diverse remote access deployment scenarios and the technologies that best address them. You know, direct access for managed clients, client-based VPN for non-managed clients and mobile devices, perhaps extending web application publishing and publishing applications to individual or publishing individual applications and making those available to managed and non-managed clients alike. Providing remote desktops or remote applications. All of those things are compelling, but again, if you're trying to design a remote access scenario or a remote access solution, it can be challenging because you may get into a scenario where I may end up having to have 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes around in order to do this. It makes management, it makes implementation challenging, it makes management difficult. There's a number of different challenges around that. The good news is that, of course, Celestix has a new remote access solution called the Cloud Edge Security Solution. And this has a number of features, and it can address all of those remote access deployment scenarios that we've talked about to this point, all in a single solution, in a single box. The Cloud Edge Security Solution is available today. It is built on Windows Server 2012 R2. It includes an embedded version of Windows Server 2012 R2, security hardened and pre-deployed for you. It's available on our Advanced Hardware Appliance platform. This is a compact appliance form factor. It is a dedicated purpose-built solution. This is not an industry standard server. We have not simply white-labeled an existing Dell PowerEdge or ProLiant or something like that. It has some additional, or it has some kind of unique capabilities. For example, it has a front panel control dial and LCD display panel, which allow you to quickly and easily configure the appliance right from the front of the device. It's designed for headless operation, which means that it sits well in the data center. It doesn't require a keyboard, video, mouse. It includes out-of-band management, which is essential when you're doing deployments in remote locations, and often our customers are deploying these in co-locations, and they're basically shipping appliances out to have just have a somebody go out and actually install this in the rack for them, and then hook the out-of-band management port up to a DHCP subnet. Boom, you have an IP address, you get that back, and you can perform full hardware management, both hardware and software, using the out-of-band management port. It does include advanced features like hardware integrated disaster recovery. It is a turnkey, ready-to-deploy solution. It provides and offers a certified configuration with predictable performance. It's also backed up by Celestix 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week follow-the-sun support. We have support operations in all around the world, and our support people are very knowledgeable and highly skilled. And the advantage there is that it's we have a very dedicated and very focused support team. Our support team supports only our solutions, and they have deep expertise with regards to all of these remote access technologies. The person answering the phone call often can help you resolve your issue. You don't have having to go through complex routing queues and and all of that sort of thing like you do with the larger organizations. So it's a pretty compelling solution. I would encourage you to look at that today. I'm going to provide you with some contact information shortly so you can get more information. But right now I actually want to just stop. This is pretty much the end of the webinar, and what I want to do is take a few minutes to go through and answer any questions that you might have. If you do have a question, you can go ahead and I think there's an option to ask a question or raise your hand, and I can go through that. Let me see if I can find these questions here. Okay, so the first question is, does this appliance require deploying directly on the internet or edge-facing? So the answer is it depends. So there are a number of deployment scenarios that do not require that the solution be deployed directly on the public internet. And I get the sense that you're asking this question because Forefront UAG with DirectAccess required that you be public-facing, and it required that you have two globally routable or edge-facing or publicly addressable IPv4 addresses. So they had to be publicly registered IPv4 addresses, and they had to be consecutive. So that for direct access specifically has been removed. In addition, remote access VPN, Application web application proxy, application publishing, client-based VPN, those all can be supported behind a border router or edge firewall performing NAT. So if you wish to implement the cloud edge security solution in a perimeter or DMZ network, then absolutely there are no requirements to deploy it directly on the edge. With that, I would say that there are some deployment scenarios on the solution that do require being connected directly to the public internet. If you wish to deploy DirectAccess and take advantage of either the 6-to-4 or Teredo tunneling protocols, then certainly it does require being edge-facing. You can still be behind a firewall, but it means you'd have to have publicly routable IPv4 addresses assigned to the external interface in your DMZ. So generally, at least here in the U.S., that's not real common unless you're a very large organization. And so in my experience, that's kind of a limited deployment scenario. The other scenario is if you plan to use site-to-site VPN. So we didn't talk about site-to-site VPN in this because this is really more of a remote access discussion, but the solution does include site-to-site VPN, which allows you to enable hybrid cloud connectivity. So I can connect this to my public cloud provider like Microsoft Azure, and it allows me to realize the full features and benefits of the hybrid cloud. That deployment scenario does require that it be deployed directly on the public internet, because site-to-site VPN with Azure, and I think it's the same case with Amazon EC2, is that they don't support tunnel endpoints that are behind NAT. Next question, does the web application proxy support endpoint detection? So the answer is no. So as I'd mentioned, the web application proxy is not does not have full feature parity with Forefront UAG. So if you have Forefront UAG deployed today to provide secure remote access to your users and you're performing endpoint detection, so in other words, you have deployed the components and you are making access control decisions based on the configuration and the status, the health of the remote endpoint, today web application proxy does not have that capability. And again, that's by design. This is not meant to be exactly a one-for-one replacement for the web app, for the Forefront UAG. Next question. So, does web applications proxy support publishing Citrix applications? Again, that's maybe. The answer to that is maybe. So, web application proxy is a web application proxy. So it's really important to understand that it does not support non-web protocols. So it is for HTTP and HTTPS. So if you're looking at deploying the solution to publish Citrix Remote Desktop, the answer is no. Now, if you've deployed, I think it's the Citrix Access Gateway, then or some other solution, then certainly this has the capability to do that because we support publishing. Basically, it's a web application, so we're publishing HTTP or HTTPS. We are tunneling ICA within SSL and TLS, and so we can support that. However, although that's certainly a supported scenario, it would certainly seem to me to be redundant, because if you have the Citrix Access Gateway, then I don't think there would be any need to or any requirements to support the web application proxy in that case. I don't know that there would be any real value. So. A couple of more questions here. So let's talk. So here's a question: does web application proxy support multi-factor authentication? The answer is yes. It does support two-factor authentication. So if you've deployed an OTP solution or one-time password solution from either one of our competitors or our solution. So we have the Celestix Hotpin two-factor authentication solution, which is an excellent and a very cost-effective 2FA solution. Does support that. You have to integrate it with ADFS. It's not the most trivial thing in the world to do. I expect that we will have some deployment guides and some prescriptive guidance for how to configure that in the future. You'll have to watch the Celestix website. We'll make an announcement at some point in the future once we've developed that content. So that web application proxy is still pretty new. We're still building out our documentation library and our gaining operational experience with this solution as we're talking to customers and deploying it. So we have a little bit of learning to get done on that, and once we've matured a little bit with that, you'll start to see more and more documentation on the Celestix website, so look for that soon. And another question regarding hotpin and multi-factor authentication. Yes, DirectAccess in Windows Server 2012 R2 does support strong authentication. So we've had a number of customers who have expressed some concerns about the security of DirectAccess, which I think is pretty funny, because when customers ask about the security of DirectAccess, one of the first things that I ask them is what remote access solution they have today, and it's typically traditional client-based VPN. Using usernames and passwords. DirectAccess is infinitely more secure than traditional VPN in that it requires, first of all, it uses IPsec authentication, so it's very secure from that standpoint. It does require, in the ideal deployment scenario, it's actually authenticated using the computer account in Active Directory, and also with a certificate that's installed on the machine. So you have to have a machine certificate, and the machine has to belong to your domain. And when the user logs on, they don't log on with cache credentials. As long as they have an active internet connection, those the logon request or the authentication request gets sent directly to a domain controller that's accessible over the DirectAccess tunnel. So from a security perspective, it is much more secure and much more strongly authenticated, even in its default configuration, than traditional VPN. In addition, DirectAccess does support strong authentication using smart cards, either physical or virtual, or one-time password solutions like Celestix Hotpin and some of our other competing solutions as well. All right, looks like we've kind of wrapped up most of the questions. There's a few here, but I think I've addressed those in some of the other conversations, so I think that's going to do it for today. So, okay, well, I guess that brings us to the end of the webinar. So thanks, everybody, so much for joining. I appreciate it tremendously. If you would like additional information about the Celestix Cloud Edge Security Solution, I would encourage you to visit our website. Go to celestix.com/products/cloud, and you will get all kinds of information there about the Cloud Edge Security Solution. If you have questions, if you would like to schedule a deeper dive technical call, if you want to get a demonstration, if you want to get an evaluation of plans, any other questions at all, drop a note to sales@celestix.com. Somebody within your region will reach out to you. They can probably answer your questions if you want to have, again, a detailed planning session, maybe a review of your configuration, your current environment, and how we can get you over to our new solutions. Then certainly the folks in the sales team will be able to connect you with myself or anybody else, any of the other technical people at Celestix, and we can have those conversations for you. So again, once again, thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it tremendously, and look forward to speaking with everybody again soon. Take care.